So the Chicago Bears just got sabotaged by the NFL, and the Chicago Bears have been linked to Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, and they've been linked to him for a long time as his preferred destination. Now we've got a brand new suitor in town, and that's Tom Brady and the Las Vegas Raiders. And the NFL is allowing them to have an unprecedented, unfair advantage. At best, it's a conflict of interest. At worst, it's straight up tampering, a full circumventing of the rules. And let's get into this. Brady's a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders, and the Raiders, of course, are looking for a head coach. And while this is happening, Brady will conveniently call the Detroit Lions divisional round game for Fox this Saturday night, as the Raiders have been doing a full court press trying to recruit Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson as well. And I'm going to argue here that the unfairness of his dual position, it's been happening for quite a while too. It's not just this upcoming Saturday. I think Brady began vetting Johnson when he did a Week 9 Lions-Packers broadcast earlier in the season. And this would obviously be an unprecedented, even unfair way for a franchise to gather intel on a candidate. But it just obviously calls Brady's Fox role into question as far as objectivity goes, at the very least. And considering the steam that Johnson has gained with the Raiders, the ongoing Brady conflict of interest subplot, it's going to continue on Saturday. And if the NFL cared anything about optics, even just this looking shady should be enough for them not to allow him to call this game. The NFL wants us to ignore it, but it's super shady. And Adam Schefter, he just made a pretty ridiculous statement as well. I'm going to go to the story on heavy.com. I'm usually a Schefty fan, but this is kind of ridiculous. I'm just going to direct quote it. Tom Brady is broadcasting the Lions game, and that's the way it goes. Ben Johnson is a primary head coaching candidate in multiple places, including Las Vegas. I think everybody involved is professional enough to do things the right way. Really, Shefty. I mean, Brady gets the benefit of the doubt here. This is just crazy. Brady gets the benefit of doubt. Have we forgotten his history? Spygate, Deflategate. I mean, this is a guy that's been somewhat involved in NFL scandals before. And we know that this is a guy who's always worked every little loophole to his advantage. He's a guy that values winning above all things. So we're just going to trust Brady. He won't break any recruitment rule. He won't break any of the spirit of the rules that are put in front of him. He won't exploit any loophole. He won't use his incredibly convenient advantage as an announcer for this game. He won't use it to improve his connection to Ben Johnson when people aren't paying attention. He won't use it to his advantage as well. The NFL is facilitating this possibility as well. And it's fully evident that nothing has changed. He's still the face of the NFL. He's the NFL's golden boy, and he continues to get a fully different set of rules to work with. It's crazy. And the NFL wants it to not be a problem. But this shouldn't happen, even if it's to avoid any even appearance of impropriety. And I'm not the only one who feels this way. David 670 The Score, David Haw, he had this to say. He finds it absurd that Tom Brady would be on the call of the Lions Commanders game for Fox when he's a minority owner of the Raiders who are pursuing Ben Johnson. And this is what Hall had to say. This is a huge conflict of interest. It's bad for credibility, and nobody cares. Kristen Tanis on Twitter. Tom Brady is on the call for Detroit versus Washington. Holy conflict of interest when you're doing a full court press to hire Ben Johnson as head coach of a team that you partially own. I mean, he isn't in meetings, but he'll be lurking around that field and chatting up his agent at the very least. Fox should put Greg Olson on it. Nico at Elite Takes. It's so obvious that Brady needs to step down from Fox. Totally ridiculous to run a franchise and broadcast playoff games at the same time. Greg Olson deserves his job back. So you might ask these questions. He's just a minority owner, right? Also, the league has put up safeguards, right? I mean, while Mark Davis is technically atop the organization, it is widely believed, and rightfully so, that Brady's running the team's head coach and GM pursuits. Also, the minority owner was heavily involved in the decisions to fire Antonio Pierce and to fire GM Tom Telesco last week. Have zero doubt about this. Brady is leading his team in pursuing Ben Johnson. And he's also getting to be in the booth announcing this weekend's playoff game that the Lions are playing in. It's not right. The NFL is sweeping it under the rug. And let's just be kind of fair here. The NFL has placed significant restrictions on Tom Brady during his time as a broadcaster. So let's see both sides of this. Since the future Hall of Fame quarterback is now part owner of the Raiders, he is prohibited from speaking and attending practices, traveling to clubs' facilities, doing on-site interview prep with coaches ahead of broadcast assignments. He's not allowed to do that. But there is a loophole to this. Brady will be in Detroit for Fox's divisional round game, and he would have a chance to both closely evaluate Ben Johnson unfairly, and Lions defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn for that matter, and to continue speaking with a coach who looks to be at this juncture at least the Raiders' early favorite. I mean, come on. You don't think they're going to have any contact with each other. You don't think even singing his praises during the game from the broadcast booth, that even that's an unfair advantage. So suddenly, now we've got tons of reports that momentum for the Raiders hiring Johnson is building, that he's now seriously considering the Raiders. And the Jacksonville Jaguars should be upset about this as well. It's not just the Chicago Bears. So to kind of outline the pursuit of Johnson by the Raiders, I'm going to go to a blurb on NBC Sports. The Las Vegas Review-Journal's Vinny Bonsigno reports that there's a lot of momentum for Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson to take the Raiders head coaching job. NFL Network reported last week that the Raiders have become enamored of Johnson. He's turned the Jared Goff-led Lions into one of the most efficient offenses in the NFL over the past couple of years. Fox Sports announcer Tom Brady, who's also part owner of the Raiders, he's reportedly been deeply involved in the Raiders head coaching search after Vegas parted ways with Antonio Pierce after a disappointing 2024 season. And Brady was integral in getting rid of Antonio Pierce and the GM, and he knew he was going to do it previously in the season. I will argue that he already knew that he was going to do this during that Week 9 Lions-Packers game that he was in the booth for. He was already laying groundwork and already circumventing rules. And I mean, think about that. Just the simple phrase, Fox Sports announcer and part owner of the Raiders. I mean, and I don't totally blame the Bears for rolling out the red carpet for Mike McCarthy this week. From the way he was flown out to taking him out to dinner afterwards, he's obviously a way more serious candidate than anyone else that they've interviewed so far. And I think it's been assumed so far that Ben Johnson, that he's the Bears candidate to lose. But now the Raiders are getting an unfair advantage in this interview process. The Bears may need to look out for themselves. They may need to get option number 2 solidified and ready to come to town. I'm not trying to be pessimistic here, but I can feel this not coming out in our favor. I still have this Bears PTSD, right? The NFL wants Brady to get what he wants. And the NFL has shown no qualms in the past of showing preferential treatment to their stars. You can even talk about officiating. You can talk about so many things. The NFL is a money-driven business. Tom Brady earns that money for the league. And if there's any way that they can give him an advantage, it's looking more and more like they're going to do it. And I don't think it should be swept under the rug. I think this should actually be a big story, and I had to talk about this. You guys let me know what you think. Is this an unfair advantage? Are the Bears essentially getting screwed in this whole process, or is it not really a big deal? I can't imagine any world that this is not a big deal. You guys bear down. This offseason has been fun so far. There's more to come, and we will talk soon. See ya.